Hi, welcome back to the basement. I'm Steve Lewis. Today's episode is a type I really enjoy doing. This is where we look back over the last couple of months worth of comments and insights and information that have been provided on the channel by the viewers. And I really appreciate all the great feedback that I continue to get on this stuff. I've learned so much more about all these different facets of the Beach Boys' career, and I really thank you very much for that. Before we dive into that, however, I'd like to talk briefly about a new release through the Endless Summer Quarterly. California Music presents Add Some Music to Your Day. This was spearheaded by David Beard of Endless Summer Quarterly. He says he started working on it, got the idea back about a year ago when he was working on an issue for the 50th anniversary of the Sunflower album. And the main feature here, of course, is a re-recording of Add Some Music to Your Day, featuring lead vocals by Mike Love, Al Jardine, Bruce Johnston. David Marks provides some guitar, and other generations of Beach Boys family provide backing vocals. Children, grandchildren, sons-in-law. It's a real family affair on this re-recording of Add Some Music to Your Day. Now, typically, I'm not that interested in hearing recordings by relatives of musicians that I follow. They've got to sort of show me that they've got something on their own merits. Then I'm interested. I'm not really all that interested in somebody's parent or son or brother-in-law or whatever, just because they have a relationship to the person that I follow. There have been a few exceptions where people have earned it on their own. Jeff Buckley and Tim Buckley, that certainly comes to mind. I'm sure there are some others. Maybe somebody can suggest a few. In this case, however, it's kind of cool because there is a connection to the Sunflower album cover with a lot of the sons and daughters of the Beach Boys. You've got appearing as backing vocalists a lot of the kids who appeared on the Sunflower album cover in 1970. You've got Haley and Christian Love, Matt Jardine, Carney Wilson. Jonah Wilson doesn't appear. Apparently he has not pursued a career in music unlike the rest of them. But that's kind of a cool connection with the album cover, and being the Beach Boys, having it be a family affair, is a little bit more in keeping with the tradition of the Beach Boys, so to speak. The Add Some Music to Your Day track kicks off the collection. Naturally, I've only heard this a few times at this point, and often my initial reaction to a track is very different from my long-term reaction to a track. And certainly there are aspects of a recording that sometimes don't jump out at me until I've listened to it a dozen, 2 dozen times. But my initial impression here is that it's pretty much what you'd expect. You can't go too far wrong with a song like Add Some Music to Your Day. It's beautiful. Backing vocals are beautiful. Mike handles the verses. Bruce is featured more heavily in the middle section. And you've got Alan sort of leading the way on the choruses. And again, as with so many of these more recent recordings, it's Alan's vocal that really jumps out at me and is really the thing that stands out. And he sings the initial add some music. He does it a little bit differently from the original recording. It's really beautiful. It gives this recording a little bit of its own personality and keeps it from just being a straight remake of the original 1970 version. It's very pleasant. I'm not sure how often I'll go back to this particular recording, but it's cool to have, and it's cool to hear something new from the guys at this point. You can get more detail, of course, in the most recent Endless Summer Quarterly edition. This is the Spring 2021 edition, issue number 133. Of course, Endless Summer Quarterly is always a great read, always full of terrific information. I imagine many of you already subscribe to it. If you don't, I highly recommend it. Next up on the CD is one solo track from each of the participating members of the Beach Boys. First up, you get Ramraj by Mike Love, which was featured on his solo album, Unleash the Love. Not really all that interesting because it's been available on Unleash the Love, for years since it was released. Next up, you get what the Endless Summer Quarterly says is an alternate version of Alan Jardine's track, Jenny Clover. Jenny Clover was, I believe, first released a couple months ago as the B-side of Al's Waves of Love 2.0 single. And it's a pretty tune. I'm not sure that the version on the California Music Project is actually an alternate version. To me, it sounds more like an alternate mix, but at least it's a very different mix, so it kind of makes it worth having. The song itself is very pretty, very slight. It reminds me a little bit of like a lighter version of Lady Linda. The lyric is inspired apparently by one of Al's dairy cows, and you get a very pretty melody and a lot of cow puns in the lyrics, which I don't know that that's a bad thing, but that's what you get. Next up, is a Bruce Johnston solo recording with him on piano of She Believes in Love Again, which of course appeared originally on the Beach Boys' 1985 album. And Endless Summer Quarterly is not really clear about the provenance of this recording, whether it's been released before. I suspect it has been released before, but I'm not sure where. No information about when it was recorded. If anybody knows more about this particular track, Bruce's solo version of She Believes in Love Again, has it been released before? When was it recorded? I'd really like to know more about it. Like I say, Endless Summer Quarterly is kind of short on details on that particular track. Rounding out the Beach Boys solo recordings on the disc is a cover of Long Promised Road by David Marks, and it's the same recording as appeared on an earlier Endless Summer Quarterly release, Under God, a tribute to Carl Wilson, in December of 2006. It's a cool recording. If you haven't got it, California Music CD is a good place to get it if you haven't already gotten it on the Under God disc back in 2006. Rounding out the disc are 3 tracks by Beach Boy family members and associates. You get a cover version of Friends by various Beach Boys sons and daughters who occasionally bill themselves as California Saga. You get Jeffrey Foskett's cover version of the Youngbloods Get Together, and you get Rob Bonfiglio's track Golden State. Incidentally, the Rob Bonfiglio number and the Jeffrey Foskett number seem to be flip-flopped on the disc from the way they're listed on the album. Finally, you get an instrumental version and an a cappella version of the Add Some Music track, kind of a stack of tracks and stack of vocals version of this cover of Add Some Music to Your Day. It's a cool little disc and nice to hear anything new from former Beach Boy members these days. Part of the proceeds from the disc go to the nonprofit Feeding America. I think it's really great that David Beard and all the folks at Endless Summer Quarterly went to all the trouble that I'm sure they had to go through to put this thing together. Really cool. I hope you get a chance to check it out. Now, let's get to the main event, which is talking about some of the really interesting information and comments and corrections that I've received from viewers over the last couple months or so. And we'll begin with episode 52, 80s Odd Tracks Part 2. In that episode, we talked about the Beach Boys' Little Richard collaboration, Happy Endings, which was written by Bruce Johnston and Terry Melcher. And viewer The Magnanimous pointed out that the song Happy Endings reuses sections from an earlier Bruce Johnston composition, which I was not aware of, called Brand New Old Friends, which appeared on the California album, which was a Kurt Beecher project, apparently in 1977. I've listened to it, and yeah, it definitely bears a lot of resemblance to parts of Happy Endings. And in turn, Brand New Old Friends actually sounds a lot like Brian Wilson's Airplane from the Love You album. They're more than a passing resemblance there, and they're apparently from the same year. Somebody actually could do a very nice medley of Airplane, Brand New Old Friends, and Happy Endings. I'm not sure that anybody would want to do that, but you could make a very nice medley of those tracks because they're all kind of seemingly related. Anyway, thought that was interesting. Thanks, Magnanimous, for pointing that out. Also, when I was researching recently the Beach Boy Party episode, I came across a 1987 track, Here Come the Cubs, which is a re-recording by the Beach Boys, or some of the Beach Boys at least, of Barbara Ann as a Chicago Cubs theme song, apparently used in 1987 by WGN AM 720 in the Chicago area. Not sure that it was ever released on a disc or anything. You can find it on YouTube. Maybe I should have included it in the 80s Odd Tracks. I wasn't aware of it at the time. In episode 53, the Beach Boys album covers part 7, in relation to the Beach Boys in Concert album, I listed a lot of double live albums of the 60s, 70s, and up into the early 80s. And a lot of people pointed out some of the really obvious ones that I missed. DJ Lee pointed out the Creedence Clearwater Revival live album. There was also the Janis Joplin in Concert album. Barely Bear and Anthony Kimball both pointed out Waiting for Columbus by Little Feat. And Joel Goldenberg not only mentioned but also recommended 3 live James Brown albums. Live at the Apollo Volume 2 from 1968, Revolution of the Mind, which is Live at the Apollo Volume 3 from 1971, and Hot on the One from 1980. I'd seen those albums around for years, of course, and never listened to them. I did, of course, have the legendary James Brown Live at the Apollo album, which I enjoy. Joel Goldenberg recommended particularly Live at the Apollo Volume 2, which I've since heard, and it's really great. I appreciate the recommendation on that, Joel, very much. Also, Tony Balls pointed out that I didn't mention the Grateful Dead. Of all live acts to forget, The Grateful Dead had 7 live albums between the late 60s and 1981, including Live Dead from 1969, Grateful Dead from 71, Europe 72 from 1972, Steal Your Face from 1975, and The Dead Set from 1981. In all during that period, 5 double live albums, 1 single live album, and a triple live album. Can't believe I forgot that. Thanks, Tony, for pointing it out. In that same episode, Beryl Parkey shared the idea that the 15 Big Ones album cover could be improved just by reversing it and using the inner sleeve as the outer cover, making it kind of like the Beatles Anthology or Exile on Main Street. And I think that's a great idea. This would have made a nice outer cover, and it would have seemed appropriate with the eclectic collection of originals and oldies that are on the album. I suppose if there's any downside to it, it's that it might have made it look like another collection. And also, I suspect that Warner Brothers would have wanted Beach Boys on the front who looked like the Beach Boys who were featured on the very successful Endless Summer release in 1974, a couple years earlier. On the next episode, Beach Boys album covers part 8, Monty shared the fact that I had said the MIU album was the second Beach Boy album ever to have the lyrics included, and that is not correct. I was thinking Surf's Up, I knew had them. He pointed out that there was a lyric insert in Holland, and I had totally forgotten that. I went to my Holland album, and sure enough, there it is. There is a lyric insert in Holland. So thanks, Monty. I had totally forgotten about that. Appreciate you pointing it out. He also apparently studies things very carefully, because he pointed out that the Love You album cover has this lower right eagle with 1.1 more little squares in it, one this way, one that way, than any of the other eagles on the cover, so it's off kilter just a little bit. He said, you know, he's apparently studied it very closely, doesn't know why that is, but he did note that this eagle, and I've counted it, there's 10 little yellow boxes here, 11 here, 10, but this one is 11. You are very detail-oriented, Monty, but it's very cool. Thanks. Also in this episode, we talked about the Guy Webster photo session with the Beach Boys that produced the pictures that were used on both the back covers of the Love You album and the MIU album. And viewer Leopoldo Petriesca pointed out that one of the Guy Webster photos from this session was used in a Kentucky Fried Chicken ad around 1977. Now, I found this also used in a Craig Carsterio ad around early 1977, but the Beach Boy Kentucky Fried Chicken version is really bizarre. The Beach Boys are picking up finger-licking good vibrations. The photo's been doctored to show Mike Love holding a drumstick in each one of his hands, and it looks like Al and Carl are trying to restrain him from shoving both of those drumsticks in his mouth at one time. One of the drumsticks already has a bite out of it, it looks like. And the copy in the Kentucky Fried Chicken ad is just hilarious. I'm not sure if this is some kind of a phony ad or if this is the real thing, but here's what it says. 11 secret herbs and spices. Wouldn't it be nice? Even the harshest critics of surf rock must admit if there's one thing the Beach Boys have mastered, it's fried chicken. Their excitation for fried chicken is legendary, and if not for their radical, polarizing music career, they may have become famous in the business of franchising chicken restaurants. But that's not what happened, and we're all thankful that things transpired the way they did, because this way we get great Beach Boys songs such as The Soup Jambi and Fun, 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 while the Colonel is free to expand his fried chicken empire unfettered by potentially damaging Beach Boy competition. Seriously, someone might have gotten killed had things gone differently. So breathe a sigh of relief and bring home a bucket of chicken tonight to eat in your room. Help me, Colonel. Help me, Colonel. There is so much weird about this ad, I really don't even know where to begin. I mean, imagining a chicken franchise turf war between the Beach Boys and Colonel Sanders as a way to sell chicken. Talking about them being chicken experts and their career being polarizing. And then this pun on the soup jambi, which would probably mean something if Kentucky Fried Chicken sold soup, And then why is it fun, 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 fun? That's apparently supposed to be some kind of a joke, but I don't get it. It's really weird. Is this a for real ad, or is this some kind of put on that kind of only works partially? Let me know what you think, and let me know if you know any more about that ad, please. Also, while researching the Beach Boy Kentucky Fried Chicken connection, I came up with more Beach Boy Kentucky Fried Chicken news. Apparently, in October 1972, Murray Wilson composed a jingle for Kentucky Fried Chicken, which was never used. It's called The Colonel's March, or The Colonel's Song. You can find it on YouTube. It's worth a listen. It's apparently Murray singing it. He sounds a little bit like Dennis before Dennis got such a raspy voice. It's not much count. It's kind of funny. It sounds a little bit like the song Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious from Mary Poppins. But anyway, take a look at that. I never had any idea that that thing existed. And I also ran across the information that apparently Fun, Fun, Fun was used in a Kentucky Fried Chicken ad in 1989. Now, I suppose it wasn't performed by the Beach Boys. I suppose they just licensed it for a Kentucky Fried Chicken ad. I don't remember it. But who would have thought that there was such a Kentucky Fried Chicken Beach Boy nexus going on that you could do half an episode on it? And I'm afraid I have spent a little too much time on this stuff. I'm going to cut it off here, and we'll turn this into a two-parter, because I spent a lot of time on talking about the California Music Disc, and a lot of time talking about the Beach Boys and Kentucky Fried Chicken, which I never expected. Again, thanks very much for the comments. We'll carry on with some of the other things that I've got in the comment section below that were really interesting next week. And who knows, by then I may get some comments on this that I can incorporate in. We'll loop back on each other, and we'll just continue doing this for on and on and on until infinity. Anyway, thanks for watching. Really enjoyed doing this kind of an episode. Really appreciate all your comments. Hope to hear more from you. Please like and subscribe if you haven't, and we'll see you next week. Bye.